From the hip here. I am resident of Color for YouTube. Joel Sains, that's my buddy Allan Gallant. We're here to do a Dark Shadows. That is very, very nice. That is awesome. We're here to do a Dark Shadows video. um, Patrick isn't joining us right now, so but if he hops in here, we'll just include him because he's awesome. Uh, so here's a question for you, Alan. If Dark Shadows had continued in the '70s, if the show had continued, where would you have liked to see it gone?
Um, yeah, we've talked about this whole idea of doing the mummy because everything else was kind of touched on at least. Um, Historically, I've heard tale that Dan Curtis wouldn't do it because he just thought that was just too much. But he also didn't like the werewolf, which was a popular storyline.
Ooh,
So yeah, I think a mummy story or some sort of Egyptian mystery, because you had a little bit of that with the Laura storyline early on, and then later in 1897. So there's kind of a deep connection to Egyptology with Dark Shadows in that respect. So I think it would have actually worked pretty well, in spite of what Curtis might have thought.
yeah. For those who don't know, Alan is 1000% correct. In the Phoenix arc, the first one, the original one in 1967 or 66, whatever you want to say, when Diana Malay first comes on I think it's the second episode, she's still talking to Maggie. It's either the first or second, where where she debuts, is that she says about the Phoenix, the Arizona Phoenix, Arizona, why it's named that. The origin, it connects to Egypt. The legend of the Phoenix is Egyptology, which
Yeah.
is really really cool. So they tied that in even way when they began it, and
Yeah,
then
because
they.
she especially in 1897 she started actually like doing prayers out of the Book of the
Mhm,
Dead, to
yeah.
Ra, the sun god, you know.
Hmm.
So there was definitely an Egyptian connection. And somewhere here, ah, where is it? Where is it? I know I've got it here somewhere. There it is. I actually got the exact replica of the one that
Ooh,
they used on the show.
very
It was a
pretty.
pretty common sort of what it is really is it's just an Egyptian scarab like she had.
Hmm.
It's the exact same mold was used or forge, whatever they
Hmm.
did, and it's got hieroglyphics on the back of it, folks.
Very
And
nice.
it's made out of brass. And this was kind of a popular trinket at the time. They were, you could buy these for like, $10 or whatever back in the day. And props department probably went out there and said, okay, we need a magical scarab. Let's go get one. And they chose this one. So,
Hmm. Now, I think a mummy story would have been really cool too, especially again because when you're getting into something like that, you could have so many characters involved. How Professor Stokes could be involved,
yep,
Quentin himself
absolutely.
could be involved because he's a writer. Douglas Grant or Grant Douglas, whatever his name was, I think.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, well, yeah. If you go into 1970, yeah, and he would be, Quentin again, but yeah, formerly known as Grant Douglas,
yeah,
the artist formerly known as Grant.
yes. Yes. He was, that's the crazy part too, because like when he comes on, they got all this other stuff going on. They're tracking down Charles Delaware Tate paintings, or at least Dr. Hoffman is, I should say.
Yes, he
Uh,
finds Harrison Monroe, I believe his pseudonym is at that point. Everybody has a pseudonym. Olivia Corey, another pseudonym. So everybody's like definitely like on the QT. Everybody's trying to like get by without showing their true identity, I guess, at that point.
they, they got more fake names than porn stars have fake breasts.
Yes, there you
Uh,
go. Chicka mau mau.
right? And that's crazy too. It's like,
Yeah,
wait, Olivia Corey, really, really?
yeah,
That's what you're
yeah,
gonna get with?
yeah, yeah.
All right, you can roll with that. For me, now the '70s, I'm a slasher guy, and the '70s were about slashers, really.
Absolutely.
Um, I think that's something Dark Shadows could have leaned into, where to give Quentin a little more, or Grant Douglas, whatever you want to call him. If you want to call him Quentin, you can. Um, to lean into his writing, have Quentin start writing a story about an animal that's murdering people. And all of a sudden, it begins, as the book's selling,
happening.
it happens
Yeah,
around Collinwood, and they start questioning him
right. Because
about
it's too
it's
close to his
similar.
story.
Yeah, it's similar to his story. And he thinks at first Chris has come back as the
Right,
werewolf because they're animal. And no, here's where you get into the cat people
right.
and do it that way. Have it be, you don't have to show blood because they didn't in the werewolf story
Not
much.
much, very
Yeah.
little, once in a
Yeah.
while. Yeah,
Yep. And you could still do that little effect there in the 70s to connect that and why they're necessarily coming after Quentin. Maybe Chris did kill one of them as a werewolf and they found out he's related to Chris in a way.
yeah,
So you could have it be sort of a revenge story going against Quentin and coming after the Collins family. That's something they could have did
yeah.
too. They could also another legend they didn't really kind of get into is skinwalkers.
Yeah,
Um,
that would have been yeah, that because that sort of came later in terms of
yeah, much later.
popularity. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be something that, again, if the series went long term, you could get into something similar to that. Absolutely.
Do you think Dark Shadows would have got into aliens in a sense or not?
It's tough to say. I mean, they already got into these sort of weird alien-like Leviathan people. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't true aliens, but they sort
No.
of had that effect. Um, the people before people kind of thing
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
But so it's hard to say, although it certainly, would become very popular before the 70s was over.
Mhm.
UFO stories became huge, and again, um, but also things that, if you trying to think, probably would have reinvigorated a werewolf story at some point because,
Yeah.
again, there were several werewolf movies made in the 70s and
Yes,
early
there were.
80s.
Yes, there were.
Became very popular again.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, all things possible. Certainly, aliens would have been probably on somebody's list at some point. I mean, they touched on sci-fi with the Frankenstein story.
Yes, they
The
did.
way they did it was more sci-fi than it was
Yeah.
alchemy. Like it is in the book, it's kind of alchemy more than
Yeah.
science, although he's claiming science, but it's primitive science. He's just shooting bolts through things to see if they'll come to life. Um, so yeah, I think probably at some point.
Yes, in Dark Shadows, they use that science, damn it, science.
That's right. A little bit. But when all else fails, hold a seance and travel through time, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Back with
Well, that's the
science.
that's the thing. Like Dark Shadows had this like funny mix of yes, we'll use science, but we'll also use machinery. Okay, we're going to use laboratory equipment to bring Frankenstein's monster Adam to life. Why not? But we're also going to use someone's life force to do it as well.
Hmm.
Barnabas's. And hey, why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
But now, what would you classify as Quentin's staircase in time? What is it to you?
it's sorcery.
There,
I think it's sorcery.
uh,
It might have qualified as science in the 1840s, but it was
uh,
sorcery, no doubt.
it's
Yeah,
straight up sorcery.
yeah.
The question would be though, who's doing the sorcery? Is it
Well,
the
that's the whole
house?
thing. He's tapped into something in the
Yeah,
foundations.
yeah,
There's some spirits rolling around in the foundations of Colin. We've discussed that fact before. Like, is there a
yeah,
hellmouth near Collinwood? Is that why they
yeah.
keep having all this stuff happening?
Like
There's some kind of supernatural magnetism to that place.
my favorite line too of that whole thing is when Professor Stokes has some of the best lines in the series. He he's like, well, but we got to get back before it's gone. It's a staircase, dude. It ain't going nowhere. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, like that's the one. And I get why he's doing it. He's trying to
Yes,
wreck
he's
it.
he's worried about timelines
Yeah,
disappearing or colliding or whatever.
yeah. Oh
It's
God.
his own sense of order, and Barnabas and Julia and Quentin don't don't care about that. They're ready to wreck everything if they have to. So
Do you think Dark, in a way, that Dark Shadows, if they would have continued, that they could have got into, in a sense, not necessarily a spin-off, but started the series maybe with Chris Jennings?
I think they could have certainly brought that character back into
Yeah.
prominence and see what happens with it.
Hmm.
I mean, you could have a spin-off series of Dark Shadows. I mean, General Hospital did that with Port Charles, and they actually turned that into a supernatural soap opera for a while. They had vampires and stuff on it. So, it wouldn't have been the first soap to have a spin-off. Um, Days of Our Lives, I think, had one called Another World had one called Somerset back in the day, in the 70s, matter of fact. And so
Yeah.
that was a spin-off. So they've done that before in daytime television, although it's rarer than a nighttime television. You have spin-offs all the time, but it's certainly you could have had something like that. Absolutely, you know.
What Days of Our Lives did or still does, I don't know. They would either mention passions or mention dark shadows.
Yes,
Literally.
especially during the storylines that had supernatural elements, like Marlena's possession by the devil. That was a big one back in the probably 90s, I guess. Yeah.
I would have just told him, listen, I don't see Diablos around here anywhere.
No, no.
I don't see no thick bottleneck glasses. No, no.
Get your own devil, damn it.
Yeah, yeah. Get your own. Get your own. That's
Dan
right.
Curtis sues Days of Our Lives for stealing his ideas.
Chew him.
How dare you rip off something I ripped off?
Right, right. Could you imagine? Oh my God, right. It would have been really interesting too. You're right, if they would have brought that character back and did that, like had either whether it had been Collinsport or the next town over. We
Right.
do know that Chris leaves with Amy Jennings, who's his what niece, I think,
Yeah.
um, and his girlfriend, which is really interesting because again, he's never cured of the werewolf curse.
No,
Quentin,
it's never resolved, so you
no,
could bring him back.
yeah, it's not. And
Well, the series Logansport.
yep,
That's
there
where
you
he's
go.
hiding out in Logansport. And Amy
uh,
was his sister. I forgot that, but yeah, Amy
yeah,
was.
yeah, sorry, sorry. Yeah, it would have been real interesting too if they had did something like that, like Logansport, because we Logansport is mentioned, I think,
Many
in the series
times in the
many
series,
times.
yeah,
Yeah,
various points. Yeah,
It's where Burke owned a cannery. Damn it! Don't ever forget that.
yeah,
Burke
yeah.
owned.
Logansport and Bedford is somewhere down the line.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are various other places that they did mention, besides the real places like Bangor and Portland, of course.
Yes, absolutely. I was checking to see if that was Patrick message.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
It's not.
Okay, I should probably check. All right.
He was that was Jolie
No,
message.
he's
That was
probably either otherwise engaged or sleeping.
yeah,
So
yeah, that was Jolie messaging me. I had to look.
yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, that's the thing too. Like there was so much potential for it to continue in the 70s. I mean, they had a bunch. To
If they had
me,
only been able to find somebody to take over the full production of it, because it's obvious that Curtis was becoming interested in doing films
yeah,
and was done. He was tired. He was tired of it, and he was done. They could have gotten somebody else that could that had the force that he had to sort of propel that forward and had that energy that he had when he first started. You might have been able to continue it because apparently the ratings were actually starting to come up a little bit during that whole Wuthering Heights thing that they did at the end, which of
mhm,
course is that's the meat and potatoes of soap operas anyway, romance,
mhm.
romance and drama that way.
And that's the thing too. 1841 Parallel Time is really a hell of a story.
It is.
Uh,
It's way better than most people give it credit for. When I was a kid, I
mm,
was kind of a jerk about it because there was no Barnabas in it, because when you're a kid,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
Barnabas, everything's Barnabas, Barnabas, or at least it was for me. But it really, when I went back to watch it again, it's like, no, this is pretty good stuff. It's not bad at all, and it does have a little supernatural stuff going on in it too. It's kind of Shirley Jackson's Lottery, but there's other things going on too. It's very spooky, but it's also very classic. It is like, you know, Wuthering Heights. It's melodramatic romance going on, and so I came to appreciate it a little bit better when I saw it again.
the fact that anybody who goes in that room either goes completely crazy was one of the best sell jobs I've
Yeah,
ever seen in a soap. I
yeah.
mean, seriously,
Well, they
because
start out with a character who's bedridden and has been in
yeah,
that room, and that sort of everything gets revealed through him being
mhm.
crazed,
Yeah,
basically.
Justin Collins was an
Yeah,
interesting character. I mean, you're here, you're right. He's laying in bed and he's crazy, and it's like you get a lot of things through him. What you don't get is who caused all this shit.
right, right.
But you get that later on. But
Yep,
that's part of it too. But you do get Jonathan as the son of Barnabas, Bramwell Collins,
yes,
in this, which is really because that's the thing about 1841 Parallel Time is you get for the first time since 1795 that you saw her, you don't only get Josette, you get an old Josette. You get Josette
right.
alive.
Josette, right, as if she had lived, and
Yeah.
she and Barnabas had married and had a child, which was Bramwell.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, again, it opened up great possibilities. There were also new actors that were, because Mary Cooper
Yep.
came in as Josette, and then the guy that played Justin was also a new actor for the show.
Hmm.
And
You also had Keith Prentice. He was
yeah,
new to
Keith
the
Prentice,
show.
brand new to the show.
Hmm. And I really like what they did with the one girl's character, Cody. I forget her name.
Oh,
Catherine.
Kathleen Cody. Yeah,
Yeah, Catherine
yeah,
Cody.
yeah,
I liked her character in 1841 Parallel Time better there because I
yeah.
thought she was more
Which was
useful.
the was she Carrie or Hallie? I can't remember in Parallel Time.
I forget, but I think she was like a medium or something or psychic.
She had psychic powers, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just the teenager though. She wasn't like running around reading people's beads, but she had something going on there. And then of course you had um, Melanie, who was crazy and
Oh, yeah.
violent and having fits and all this sort of thing. So,
Nancy Barrett in that role, my God,
oh yeah,
she
she's
was.
a true histrionic in the best sense of the word. She was able to convert energy into character
Yeah,
really well. She's very
yeah.
good at it. She was one of the best actors on the show.
Oh, yeah. Do you think now Dark Shadows did introduce other vampires, obviously?
Hmm.
Do you think they would have eventually introduced Dracula himself, or no?
That would be, I'm not sure. I mean, that would be interesting, I think.
Yeah,
It would be interesting to actually have that character just show up from the classic,
yeah,
um, you know, the actual classic tale and figure out how and why he got there and all of that sort of thing. So I'd say that would not be a bad idea. It could
yeah,
certainly happen, um, as long as there weren't any copyright problems, because that would cost too much money, uh,
yeah,
and they'd
yeah,
call him Alucard and not bother to call him Dracula.
yeah.
So,
Right.
but no, I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, they sort of brought Barnabas in to be a Dracula at
And
first,
so,
so why not return to their roots a little bit that way?
yeah,
Only having
or
Barnabas fighting against him, maybe, or Quentin or somebody.
yeah, I think the closest they come to like I really enjoyed the mystery of Roxanne. the vampire.
I
That
thought she
was
was one of the really good vampires on the show. I mean, I
yeah.
really like Tom Jennings, but he wasn't on very long.
No, he wasn't.
And he was popular enough, so they brought him back for like a 3 or 4 show arc there when he was
Hmm.
resurrected by Nicholas, but he really wasn't on very long. And they decided to bring the actor back as Chris,
Yeah,
and that worked much longer. Obviously, he was on the show
yeah,
much, much longer as that character. But Roxanne was her becoming a vampire was a mystery. And then we go back into 1840 and we discover, oh, she became a vampire that long ago.
yeah,
And apparently, um, Barnabas going back in history, he had done it before because she had been a vampire in 1970.
yeah,
So that introduced a concept of circular time, like he had been there before but didn't know it, and then went again. So that was kind of interesting, and I liked the fact that she was sort of this. She was Sebastian's dominatrix, basically. She had this sort of dominant relationship with him, and you don't understand why until you figure out, oh, she's a vampire.
yeah. It's really interesting what they did with her. And I'm with you. Tom Jennings was a really interesting cat as a vampire. I mean,
Yeah,
because he's a handyman, and next thing you know, he's getting bit by Angelique. We're gonna find out she's a vampire.
right.
Man,
But he also was incredibly energetic as a vampire.
yep,
He had a whole different thing going on. I think Don Briscoe really loved playing that.
yeah.
He was having a good time. So,
I would say the meanest vampire had to be Dirk. He
oh
was
my
mean.
God, he bit everybody in like 5 episodes. He just chewed on everybody, then he chewed the scenery, as an actor. But it's like biting chairs. He was having a way too good of a time. Roger Davis was with those
Yeah.
Spanx that he was wearing. I've got a couple of electronically reproduced snapshots of him that some fans took
Hmm.
because he went out into the street with his fangs when he was playing
Nice,
Dirk.
nice.
Yeah, uh,
Now
this
that's commitment
that's
right
totally
there.
Roger Davis.
Yeah,
That's totally what he would do. But
yeah,
but anyway, yeah, he was cool too. But again, very short term.
yeah.
Very short term.
And well, too, I think too the way the character is written. I want Laura back. It's like, no, dude, you're not
Yeah,
getting.
she sort of drove him crazy before she left, before she was destroyed. And even as a vampire, he was crazed to have her back. She'd cast various spells on him,
Yeah,
made him recite several spells, and kind of ruined his life, so to speak.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, I'm out of questions, man. Do you want to show your VHS tapes off here
Sure.
again?
I got a
Oh,
few,
really?
and I just keep a few. I used to have very many of them from years ago, but I bought a few on eBay. They're relatively inexpensive to buy if you kind of shop around.
Yeah,
This is one. This is the music video tape. This is from 19. I think it's from 91. Yeah, 1991. So this one's 35 years old.
nice.
Still sealed. These ones are not sealed. But for anybody that has not seen the VHS tapes, that's kind of what the MPI tapes looked like back in the day.
Cool.
And this one, they put these out, every 6 months or so. They'd put out another special tape to promote the actual series
Yeah,
because the series was also on VHS tapes for a while before it went to DVDs.
yeah.
And MPI was selling them in packs of 4, and they were expensive. They
Wow,
cost like $70 to $80 for 4 tapes, which
wow.
is a lot. Now you can buy these in good condition, sometimes for less than $10 a piece.
Cool.
And once in a while, you get a lot of them if you wanted to. I don't want to have that many of them, but I wanted to have some of the special tape. And I also have the first. I have the first 4. And the first tape that came out, besides the Best of Dark Shadows, which was one that came out that promoted the release of the series. This was the actual first tape that came out with episodes on it.
Nice.
And the first 8 or so of these tapes, they edited out a lot of the storyline that would be restored when they came out with the collector's series, which was all pre
Uh,
Barnabas episodes. But for these first releases, they edited out a lot of scenes that didn't involve Barnabas Collins. They kept some of them so that you'd get the
right.
story, but they edited out anything they thought was extraneous, and then they restored them later.
Oh,
Yeah, these are, like I say, these are just kind of, I keep these as sort of nostalgia because that's how I got hooked on the show. I rediscovered them in '89 when I was at a store called Mr. Paperback in Bangor, Maine, at the Bangor Mall, and they had a bin where they had odd tapes and stuff and books. And one of the tapes that was in there was this one called The Best of Dark Shadows. And it was the first thing that they issued before they even issued the regular tapes. So I bought that, went home, watched it, and started remembering a whole bunch of stuff from when I watched it as a kid. And then there was a video store called Dave's Video Store down the street from me in Bangor. I used to live quite close to Stephen King's house. And so I'd walk down to this video store that was on the other side of Stephen King's house, a few blocks down, at the bottom of a hill, heading towards downtown. And they started carrying the Dark Shadows tapes. So I started. That's how I really got back in connection with the series, and turned the series on to a couple other people. We used to have watch parties every once in a while, and so that's how I got back into it. But that's why I keep these guys now, because they're
awesome.
just kind of nostalgia for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun, Alan.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Always up to talk about Dark Shadows.
Yep. Uh, link to Allan Gallant's YouTube channel, Calling Sport After Dark is going to be in the description box. Alan, you have a good night, man. Take care.
You as well, sir.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Bye bye.